So let's look at the topology for this lab. We have two EXSI hosts in the compute cluster, and we already have configured the T1 router and has established the connectivity between S1 and S2. Now the objective is to configure the T0 router and establish a neighborship towards the CSR, and it will be a BGP neighborship. Now, if you take an edge node, there are basically four interfaces for the edge node. The first interface I used for management. The second interface is for the overlay transport, and the third and the fourth interface can be used for the uplink towards the CSR. So in this edge, I basically have created two NVDS. The one NVDS, I have assigned it to the overlay transport zone, and the second NVDS I have assigned to the VLAN transport zone. Now I done it because I'm using the same VLAN here, right? Else you just need one single NVDS. But if you are using same VLAN for your overlay transport zone uh, segment and for your transport zone VLAN uh, in the same NVDS, it will not work. So basically I use two different NVDS switches, right? So let's see how to configure this. So this is my NSX GUI, right? So I need to go to the networking tab. First, I need to create the segments, right? So I need to create the segment for the uplink connectivity, and this will be a VLAN transport zone segment, right? So I just need to assign a VLAN. It is not part of transport, I mean, overlay transport zone, so I don't have to assign an IP address. So let's see how to configure it. So I'll go to the segments, and usually you will have two segments, right? Like we usually call it as left segment and right segment. So left segment will be used for one connectivity towards the CSR, right? And the right segment will be used for the second connectivity towards the other CSR. So then you get redundancy and you create different VLANs for that, right? For this segments, what I'm creating is assigned to nothing, right? I'll just say it is not assigned to T1. So it is in the transport VLAN, right? Not in the overlay. And I don't have to assign any IP address because it's a plain layer 2. And for me, my uplink is a CSR, and I have assigned IP address in the interface. So I'm just giving a VLAN number as 0. If you are using trunk, then you need to specify the exact VLAN right here. And you go and save it. And you can say no, and just make sure this is up. All right. Then I'll go to my tier 0 router. I will add tier 0 router here. Click it, give it a name. For example, customer A tier 0, and let's select active standby, right? And you need to specify. You can use either active or active standby, and you need to specify the edge cluster that you're going to deploy this tier 0 router, right? So I specify my edge cluster that I created in the previous labs, then I save it. So once I save it, I can go and now edit the settings. So I go to the interfaces and assign the interface here, add the IP address. So this interface is basically towards CSR1. So I mentioned that, which from edge 1, and I have an external connectivity, and the IP address will be 13.0.0.1/24, and it will be part of the left segment, right? So that's how the mapping occurs, and I need to specify which will be the edge. So I have only one edge for this lab, but usually you will have two. So you select appropriately, right? So I selected edge 2, save it, and make sure that this is coming up, close. Now I need to go to the routing protocol, which I'm using here, BGP, or you can use static route. So these are the two routing protocol that is supported. So I'm using the default AS number. Just go here and set your neighbor parameters. The neighbor IP will be 13.0.2/24. You don't need /24 is BGP neighbors, and you just need to assign the neighbor AS number and select the interface that you want to source it from, right? And just save, make sure these all parameters are correct, and just make sure it is success. Now you can go to the router. So for me, it's CSR1, router 1 is connected here. And just check the neighborship. I already have configured the router 1. I mean, there's only minimal configuration there. So yeah, you can see now the BGP neighbor has come up. So show IP interface brief. So I have assigned 13.2, and if I type show run show IP BGP summary, you can see the BGP neighborship is up. So this is how basically you establish connectivity from your edge to the external router. If you have two edges, then you need to basically assign one more segment and assign that interface in a different VLAN so that you get redundancy, right? Now we will look how in the next video how we can associate the tier 0 to tier 1 and make sure you're learning all the routes, right?